Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another podcast of Create Yourself Imagery, Intimacy, and Innovation, a place where people from all walks of life and various backgrounds come to share their transformative personal and professional stories of restoration, confidence, clarity, and empowerment. They are here to share their helpful tools, resources, and affirming guidance. I'm Joyce Kyles, your global speaker, author, trainer, and coach. And if you're ready to transition, transform, and thrive, this is indeed the podcast for you. Today's guest, you all, is a special treat for me. I had an opportunity to meet this fantabulous young lady a few years ago through a mutual friend of ours, and we have just stayed connected ever since. And just being able to watch and see her evolution in this space has been amazing to say the least. And I'm going to give her an opportunity to really share and do a deeper dive about who she is and how she came into this journey. But I will say that I love her dearly, respect her work, just respect the way that she carries herself and the passionate ways that she shows up for herself and for the community. It's just been a joy to watch and see the evolution. So I'm excited to have her on the show today. She is none other than Oriana Holmes, CEO, Survivor-preneur, which I love that title, Survivor-preneur. So, welcome to the show, Oriana. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on. I am honored to have been invited.
Of course. This is Create Yourself, imagery, intimacy, and innovation, and you definitely embody it. And so I'm just glad that you made time for me and us, our listening audience today. So, if you would just tell the audience a little bit about who you are and how your Create Yourself journey came about.
Okay. Well, let's see a little bit about myself. So I am a Memphis native. I am, uh, born and raised in Memphis and Millington areas. Graduated from University of Memphis, and I have two amazing young adults that nobody can believe that I have a 22 and a 23-year-old, but they are fantastic individuals, and I'm their biggest fan. And I am all about empowerment. I think, in thinking about my journey, advocacy has been a word that has come to mind up until this year. This year, I'm really focusing on the fact that empowerment is really what I've been about this whole time. So I have about a decade of experience working in the field of domestic violence. Um, but I've had a heart for helping and empowering others as far back as I can remember. So I'm the kid that would give my lunch or lunch money to other kids. And in sixth grade, I created a club called the ACEs Club. That was for students who had A's through C's and E's and S's in conduct, right? So using that marketing degree before I even had it, okay? And by the
Wow,
end,
that is cool. I love that.
well, and by the end of that school year, every kid in my class was in the ACEs club, and because we helped each other, get those grades and get that conduct up. So that's pretty much been something that I've always done. I've had a lifetime of building my own table and encouraging others to do the same.
Wow, that is cool. So I'm going to share that. I'm going to share the Aces Club with my daughters. I think that is great. I'm thinking of one of my granddaughters in particular that I think would really enjoy and benefit from that. So yeah, I'm still in it, but I'll give you the credit.
I appreciate that. So this journey that I've been on, you asked about my create yourself journey, and I kind of think of it in three parts. Like the first part would kind of be self-discovery, because this year has been the best emotional journey of self-discovery of my life. Um, through my regular counseling sessions, my grief counseling to kind of learn to process loss in healthier ways, reading books on my attachment style and self love. I've just learned so much about myself, why my brain works the way it does, what drives my behaviors, how my strengths have positioned me for a life I hadn't been able to see before, and the areas of opportunity to work on and gaps to fill so that I can be the best version of myself. So I've kind of been on that journey consistently this year. Prior to I've done some, work on myself here and there, but consistently this year I have pushed for that and gained more of an awareness and love and respect for myself. Right. Um, Now I have to say the second part of my journey has been just kind of choosing myself. And what I mean by that is that while on this journey, as a Black woman in this country at this time, I'm having to vehemently reject who my employer and who at times society is trying to define me as, um, and the worth that they're trying to assign to me. So with over 300,000 Black women who have lost their jobs within a 5-month period, I'm sure I'm not the only one that experienced some of the things that I experienced. So I had to make the decision to quit rather than to stay in a hostile work environment that was negatively impacting my health and my peace. So I decided to choose me. Um, I asked myself, what would it look like to put my time, talent, passion, and belief into building my already established business, to actually truly care about those impacted by domestic abuse and to serve them in ways that respect and honor them. Like, what would that look like for me to do it through my business as opposed to doing it for employers that don't have that same level of passion and respect for the work. And so the final part of the journey, I won't say final, but I'd say the next part of the journey was really mentorship. Um, so equipped with the greater knowledge of myself, greater empathy is what that led to for myself, and then love for who I am and of the areas in which I needed help to succeed. I sought out mentors who have really poured into me. Um, I'm so grateful that you are one of those mentors that has really um, encouraged me and built that confidence within me to be able to do this on my own. The late Sharon Puryear, which was absolutely dear to both of us. Um, Phyllis Lewis, Ramona Jackson, Amber Ashford, and so many more. I'm just really grateful that the greats of advocacy and genuine brilliance have kind of ushered me forward in this. So that's kind of been my journey up to now.
Wow. I am honored to be considered one of those greats. So thank you. I just wanted to say that on the front end. The oh wow, just so many places that I could start with all that you shared. When you talked about the fact that this is, you see your create yourself journey in three parts. You know, uh, the podcast is called Imagery, Intimacy, and Innovation for a reason because there were three parts to me, and so much of what you touched on represents all of those to some degree. And I love that I want to spend just a moment with the choosing yourself part, the
Yes.
second part, because I think so often we try to show up, especially as Black women, um, because that is my experience and that's what I can speak to better than anyone else is the experience of the Black woman and what that has been like navigating specifically in these times as you so eloquently lifted up. I'm so glad that you recognize the value in you
Yes.
and that there's so much that you have to offer. So whether others see it or recognize it or not, that you made that decision to pour into yourself, choose yourself. What can you do and how can you show up for yourself and your business rather than waiting for someone else? So I love the fact that you talked about, creating your own table. Um,
Hmm.
Sometimes that is necessary. And then I know what you're doing. I know what I strive to do when we create tables like the ones you're creating with your business, podcasts like what I've created here.
Mhm.
Um, it provides opportunity for safe space conversation, for real
Mhm.
dialogue, opportunities to self-express and, to uplift because we have to find ways to uplift one another, right? So
Absolutely.
I'm glad that the self-discovery and choosing yourself and the importance of mentorship have all proven to be helpful and beneficial to you, which is a great lead into us talking about what you do. So for those who are not as aware, now you can read it under the bio because I always share the information about my guests under the flyer. So if you clicked on this to listen to it today, you have access to the bio as well as how to connect with her. But I'm just going to say it for the context of our conversation right now that you are a speaker, an author, and the founder and CEO of To Rise Advocacy and Consulting, LLC. So I'd love for you to spend a few moments talking about TRAC and just how it came about, what you do, the services you offer, just all the things right now. So I'm just going to yield the floor to you.
All right. Well, how it came about was, in my experience working in the domestic violence field, there were certain gaps in services that I was seeing, and I've kind of, worked in this field in various capacities. So whether that's been working in domestic violence shelter, a court advocate, lethality assessment program coordinator, victim witness coordinator for the district attorney's office. I've worked at trafficking, nonprofit. And so I've seen that there are some gaps in services that organizations either couldn't provide or that wasn't their lane, that wasn't their wheelhouse. If they're providing emergency services, then there are going to be some healing centered services that they don't provide, and they usually refer out for that. So I actually created TRAC to fill in some of those gaps. Um, I do some of that now in terms of court accompaniment, contracted advocacy, keynotes, expert witness services for cases involving domestic abuse. I do educational workshops for community groups and professionals working with survivors. And what I'm working on now is I'm launching a couple of programs. So, as you know, in the domestic violence advocacy field, we often use the Duluth model of the power and control wheel to illustrate the pattern of abusive behaviors that one partner uses to gain power and control over the other partner over time in a relationship. But what I hadn't seen was a positive inversion of that. Even though we've seen like the equality wheel, which does a great job of showing what equality looks like within a relationship, I had not seen a positive inversion of the power and control wheel itself. So I developed one. And so I developed the empowered and in control wheel as a healing centered tool that illustrates the pattern of healthy behaviors for survivors to get their power and control back. So I wrote a guide on how survivors, their loved ones, and victim service providers can use it. And then with that empowered and in control framework, I then developed the Phoenix, which is a survivor empowerment program that provides workshops and services that reinforce those positive behaviors to kind of foster healing, but also to break cycles of abuse, because it's very important to me that we include, the children in that as well, at various levels and in very trauma informed ways, obviously, so that they also understand and can process what they have grown up in to break those generational cycles of abuse. And for youth, I also developed a peer led relationship empowerment program that examines healthy and abusive relationships with a focus on self awareness, self love, and self worth. Um, Now, both of those programs have the option of including the TRAC empowered self defense, is what I call it. It's a workshop that combines self defense techniques, domestic abuse education, and an emphasis on self worth. And the reason I did that is because I realized during my journey to get my black belt in Krav Maga, whoop whoop, that if you don't feel worthy of protection and safety, then you're not going to use the techniques, whether you know them or not. Or if you feel like the other person is more important than you, then you're not going to use those self-defense techniques. So I wanted to make sure that there was domestic abuse education and resources included, as well as, you know, that emphasis on self-worth. And I also have a couple of crisis intervention people that do those classes with me to make sure that if anyone's triggered during those moves, that they have somebody who can help talk them through that. So those are the services that I've done.
Yes, yes, you have so many great things that you are doing. Thank you so much for sharing the journey of, why you created it, how it got started. I'm so glad that you lifted up the fact that you are a black belt. So let's go back for just a second then, because yes, for you, those of you who do not like actually know Ariana and have not seen her physically, she is a small in stature, but powerhouse, most definitely a powerhouse. So yes, I know I no one's believing that you have a 22 and 23-year-old because you are so youthful looking yourself. But
Thank
when I say you all, this is a powerhouse, you do not want to run up on her. I'm telling you, it was not be in your best interest.
It's not
Don't
going to
do
go
it
how you
to
think.
yourself, not at all. So don't let her small stature and youthful appearance fool you. She is well equipped to handle herself. And in that, me saying that about you from the physical perspective, you also have the emotional intelligence and the fortitude to be able to teach, speak, and train in the ways that you do. So I love, love, love the fact that you have created things that really speak to the positive sides, the other sides, the aftermath. I know so often in this space we talk about, what happened to you and the struggles that, and when I say you, I mean you in general. Like
Right.
when we speak on domestic abuse, all the time you hear the stories of, this was the situation, this is what happened. What I love though is how so many of us are spending more time really trying to focus on, okay, we understand this is what happened to you, but now what can we do to help you to experience the life that you desire and deserve? Because it is a human right to be safe. It is a human right to want to be in an environment that is loving and caring and hopeful. And when you're going through traumatic experiences, we don't have the hope. We've lost it. We've lost pieces of ourselves. And so what does it look like to have someone pour back into us to say, there's life again, there's love again, there's opportunities again. You are worthy, you are deserving. And so it takes the shift from so much of the despair of it all to the desire and ultimately the breakthroughs of living that happy, healthier life because it's achievable. It is achievable, but
Mm-hmm.
it takes work. And you definitely have put things in place to help with that process. I especially love that you have created this wheel that really focuses on what it means to be empowered, what it means to be in control. Because as someone who has transitioned, out of traumatic experience myself, it was really hard to see me past the hurt at one point
Mm-hmm.
until I
Right.
started connecting with people who showed me, no, there's power there. You do have power, that
Absolutely.
you do have the ability to take your life back and take control of it. But what does that look like? I'm a visual person. So when you
Right.
said that, I'm like, oh, this is great. Let me see what this looks like. So I loved
Right.
it. I love it. So, get that patent. I know you're working on that trademark if it's not already. So we put it
Oh.
out there. This is her intellectual property.
It is protected. It is copyrighted. It is copyrighted.
All right, very good, very good, very good. So tell me then, Ariana, as we start to get towards the end of our time together, Oriana, do you have any like events that are coming up? Any ways that we can support you in your work, referrals, connections? Just what does that look like for you and your business?
I do have a few events that are coming up that I've been asked to be a speaker for locally. The Here in Memphis, the Crime Victims and Rape Crisis Center has asked me to be their keynote for the domestic violence walk. There's a networking event coming up that I'm going to be the keynote speaker for as well. So I'm very grateful for those opportunities to be able to speak, especially since, like you said, I really do like focusing on the positive, on the healing, on um, the post traumatic um, topics of domestic abuse. And so a lot of times my engagements are more interactive because I do want there to be those light bulb moments, and people are visual sometimes. And so, as far as how you can support, um, the referrals, the opportunities to speak, the opportunities to do workshops are all welcomed, and I can be booked for those. We can have conversations about that. And then, just the connections with people who are in the spaces that could potentially have me speak to, youth groups and social groups and women's groups would be fantastic. Colleges, universities, corporations, all the things. Um, and I just would also say that the Empowered and in Control wheel booklet is something that I'm making available on my website, and I'm looking to have that available on other platforms as well. So you can definitely support by buying that booklet for either for yourself or for someone that you know who's experiencing it or impacted by it. Because again, that guide is a guide to healing after an unhealthy or abusive relationship, but it's written for survivors, loved ones, or even victim service providers who are looking to be able to support in a more healthy and efficient way.
Wow, that is wonderful. And, because I do know that you are an expert on domestic violence and you are also an expert witness, that
Mhm.
you bring just a myriad of diversity when it comes to doing this work and being able to share and implement strategies that are helpful and provide hope, and they're tangible. And that's what I love about the work that you're doing, is that it's not just in theory, but it is something that can be put into practice with real meaningful tangible results. So thank you for all the work that you have done, all the work that you are doing, and for every opportunity that you will receive in the future to keep doing what you're doing. I'm glad that you made the decision to choose yourself and just go out there and just do it, because it's in you, and we're all reaping the benefits from it. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. I think the main thing that would be a takeaway, I guess, for my journey and hopefully for anyone listening is to believe in yourself, which can mean self discovery. It could be through counseling to address any core wounds or mindset issues that are keeping you from pursuing what you desire, but also believing in what's possible and that what's possible is also for you. It's not just that other people are capable of doing these things. You're capable of doing these things, and you have to believe that to be able to do that. So goal setting and vision boards can seem intimidating when you haven't seen what's possible, if you feel like you're not worthy of that life, or if you're constantly living in survival mode. Because I mean, let's be honest, a lot of times we are living in survival mode, just trying to get day to day, and so it's hard to envision the future when you're in that mode. And then just believing in the power of mentorship and making it happen, surrounding yourself with people who are encouraging, but especially people who are doing what you want to do, to be encouraging and helping you through that is very important. But then you also have to put in the hard work to make it happen.
Absolutely. Very well said. And I think the last question that I would have for you, and of course it will be listed if you clicked on to listen, then if you scroll down, you will see not only her bio, but you'll see the ways to get in touch. But I always ask my guests to share verbally what are the best ways to get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, um, the best ways to get in touch with me is to connect with me on LinkedIn. There's also my email address, which is my first name, Oriana, Oriana, at toriseac.com. And then there's also my website. People can check out my website and see what services are available, or go through the process of booking me for speaking or expert witness services through the website. And that would be toriseac.com. That's toriseac.com.
All right. Well, Oriana, thank you so much for being a fantabulous guest for us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And for all of you who continue to tune in, or if this is your first time, welcome. But for those of you who have been following this journey with me for some time now, I thank you, because without all of you, I could not do what it is that I do. So thank you for tuning in today. And until next time, go forward and create the life you desire and deserve. And remember that you can do so at any age. Let's continue to transition, transform, and thrive together.